Maybe you got on stage when you were 15 and you did a play, and then the popular kids in school made fun of you. Really specific, that may be my example. And it's going to feel like there's some resistance, like it's a little bit difficult. But remember, you're working with the neuroplasticity of your brain, so it's going to take a little bit of time. I used to have a paralyzing fear of being sung happy birthday to, which is so bizarre. Where people get into trouble is that they're desiring this new reality with this type of love, with this type of visibility, but they kind of have one foot in this new reality and one foot back in their old life. For me, for example, with the worthy of being loved exactly as I am, this has required me to... Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of Wealthy. My audio probably sounds really bizarre right now, and that is because I rented a podcast studio, a new one. Neither of their microphones are working, and I brought my own microphone just in case, and that one is frying out. So I'm pretty sure we are not in the middle of a Mercury retrograde right now, but I don't know why it's happening, and I'm not letting it stop me because I have so much that I want to talk about, and I think letting it stop me and skipping this episode would be a version of self-sabotage, which is our topic for today. So this is the second solo episode that I have done for Wealthy so far, and I want to do more of these, like 20 to 30 minute long spiels about a random topic that I feel called to talk about, that I feel like you guys would benefit from based on what I'm learning and going through and experiencing in my own life. And today's topic is going to be on self-sabotage, because self-sabotage is something that literally every single person does. And it's interesting because even though everybody self-sabotages, people do it in different areas of their life. So while one person might self-sabotage when it comes to love and relationships, somebody else might sabotage when it comes to work and visibility online. And the reason why sabotage shows up in different areas of different people's lives is because people have different core beliefs about different areas of their life. So generally speaking, somebody that has a core belief of I'm not good enough, I am hurt by the people closest to me, when I love somebody, they hurt me, they will typically self-sabotage in love. Or if somebody has a core belief of I'm not safe to be seen, I'm not safe to be visible, they will self-sabotage when it comes to their ability to really show up authentically on social media. And what is self-sabotage? Essentially, what it is when you have a goal or a vision for how you want some area of your life to look, and you start to grow into the capacity that you want to grow into, you end up doing different behaviors, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, to bring yourself back down to your baseline. So an example of this might be, and this is very front of mind because I just opened the doors to my new live 5-week program called Seen and Safe. It is a 5-week live experience that's walking you through how to heal your visibility wounds. That way you can show up online with clarity, with confidence, and feeling safe in your body. But an example on this would be if somebody has a core belief that they're not safe to be visible because they believe that if they're visible, people are going to perceive them and judge them, then what they'll tend to do is have a big goal, like I want to post, X number of times on social media per week. And then they'll start doing that. They'll be relying on willpower. And then all of a sudden, they will decide to procrastinate all of a sudden, or overthink their caption and decide not to post it, or send out, emails when they should be creating content, or freeze and scroll on the couch for 3 hours. They end up doing self-sabotaging behaviors to bring them back to their baseline level of safety. Same in romantic relationships. So if somebody's desiring of a really intimate, close romantic relationship, but they associate love with engulfment, with loss of freedom, when that intimacy starts to build, they will self-sabotage by pulling away, for example. So obviously why I got really interested in this is because of my own experience with myself, and honestly just being sick of my shit in so many different areas of my life. I started out this year in January doing the kind of normal evaluation of my life, of my goals, where I wanted to go, where I was at. And it was even more magnified at this point because I had just gone through a breakup as well. And so I was kind of looking at literally every area of my life. The first episode of Wealthy is about this. And I identified, all of these different areas of my life and where I wanted to be and where I currently was. And it became very clear to me that when it came to love and when it came to my visibility, we'll say, I was self-sabotaging. So in work, for example, I wanted to be doing more public speaking. I wanted to be doing more in-person podcasts. I wanted to be that confident girl that was filming in public and doing a lot of in-person things and embodying this magnetic energy. And I kind of looked at what was standing between me and all of those things, and I realized that it was a fear of being seen. And because I had that fear of being seen, I kept self-sabotaging myself and not pushing myself for different opportunities. I kept hiding my true, authentic self on social media, hiding behind filters. I was really comfortable being seen on social media, but only in like perfection and only if I could control people's perceptions of me. And then I was never like pitching myself for public speaking, avoiding it literally at all costs. And I realized that my fear of being seen was holding me back from everything that I wanted. Second area I was doing it in was in love. And actually this was sort of loosely related, but I essentially realized that I was in a pattern of attracting and pursuing men that because of whatever dynamic, it would be very different with different partners, but like would end up having to self-abandon, would end up having to shapeshift, self-sacrifice, put their needs before mine, honestly, like give more than they deserved. I don't want to say it like that, but kind of give more than they deserved in the capacity of like they weren't giving the same back, right? Like I was just like over giving. And that is because I had a core belief in love, that love was meant to be hard. Love was something that I fought for, that I performed for, that I need to look a certain way in order to feel worthy of. So that was my core belief around that. So the first thing, and this is like relate it to whatever area you feel like you have, limitations in. Generally speaking, any area of your life that you are not happy in, it is more than likely 100% certain that is because you have some sort of core belief that is not serving you in that area, and that is leading to the self-sabotage. So the first thing you need to do is kind of bring awareness to what your beliefs are. Now, most people do not do this. They sort of just take their thoughts at face value and assume that everything that they're thinking is 100% true, which once you realize that your thoughts are really just a projection of your own beliefs, you start to realize how crazy that is, because our thoughts they're never reflecting reality, okay? So the first thing you need to do is start to bring awareness to your immediate thoughts that you have, especially when you feel yourself getting triggered. Like if you're in a dynamic or a conversation or in a situation where all of a sudden you feel a lot of anxiety and tension in your body, where you feel insecure, anything like that, any sort of uncomfortable emotion, take a second to analyze what story you're telling yourself and question your thoughts. And then say, if I had a different belief, would I actually believe this to be true? So, for example, if you're at a party and you notice that a girl comes in who's like very confident, dressed very boldly, and your first reaction is to judge her, stop and question why you are judging her. Judgment is a really good opportunity for growth when you feel that emotion coming up. Why am I judging her? What would I have to believe to be true about myself in order to cast a negative judgment on her? And in that specific instance, it's very likely that you are wanting to be more confident and magnetic like her, and you don't believe that you are that person. You don't believe that you are the magnetic, confident person that she is. And so then you can say, okay, if I did have a belief that I was confident and that I was beautiful and worthy, would I have that same thought about that person? So just start to analyze, like question your thoughts. And then what you want to do is start to bring awareness to where that belief originated, because our subconscious beliefs, typically, they come from either childhood, the culture, the religion we were raised in, the society we were raised in, schooling, or early childhood experiences. But most of the time, between the ages of 0 to 7 is when your subconscious beliefs are being programmed, because your primary brainwave state is that of theta, which is the same brainwave state that you enter into when you're under hypnosis, meaning that your subconscious is the most accessible versus when you're awake and in normal brainwave states. I think beta. When you're in normal brainwave states, your subconscious is not as accessible. So between 0 to 7, whatever you're experiencing, hearing, that is when your primary subconscious beliefs and fears are formed. And so if you have a fear of being seen online, when did you first start to believe that it was not safe to be visible, not safe to be yourself? Maybe you got on stage when you were 15 and you did a play, and then the popular kids in school made fun of you. Really specific, that may be my example. But just like bring awareness to where that belief comes from. And if you can't find where that belief was implanted, it doesn't matter so much. But the reason why this is helpful is to start to add separation between you and that belief. Because a lot of us we're like besties with our beliefs, right? Whether they're helpful or they're not helpful. And so what you want to do is start adding separation between you and unhelpful beliefs to create distance and to remove it as part of your identity. And it begins to lose power in doing that. And so once you have awareness of where it came from, when you start to think those kind of self-sabotagey thoughts, what I want you to do is then say in your head or out loud, say, that is not my belief. That was my mom's belief. That was my dad's belief. That is no longer something that I believe. I'm letting go of that belief, like consciously saying that out loud to yourself. So that's just an ongoing process that you can do. In order to install a new belief, for example, I will do one that I have recently worked through, which is that I am worthy of romantic love exactly as I am. That is like my new belief that I have worked very, very hard to install. So decide on what that new belief is going to be that is going to be helpful for you. And it may feel a little uncomfortable. It shouldn't feel like too much of a stretch. So if you find that you're, stretching being like, I am so worthy of love, and you really feel like consciously like you are not, maybe start with something like, I am starting to believe that I am worthy of love, or I'm willing to consider that I am worthy of love, or what if I was worthy of love, right? Like some sort of belief that's just a little step above where you are right now. So choose that new empowering belief, put a pin in that. We're going to come back to the belief in a second. The next thing we need to focus on, and this is just so important in every area of life, and I can make a full episode talking about this, is nervous system regulation. So a lot of people do not have this front and center. A lot of people kind of don't really think about how important their nervous system is. But what I need you to understand is that when you are dysregulated, the majority of the time, even half the time, when you are dysregulated, right, you're in that flight, fight, freeze state where you are super, super anxious, you're full of tension, you're like, you feel like you're I don't even know the analogy, like a tea kettle, like ready to boil over. You're so irritable. You're so just like anxious and like tight, and you can feel it in your body, right? Versus when you're in freeze, you're more like shut down, right? You're really tired. You're lying on the couch for 3 hours scrolling. You can't really seem motivated to do anything. You can't make decisions. And so when you are in that state of dysregulation, what happens in your brain is that your prefrontal cortex powers down, we'll say for lack of a better term, and that makes it really difficult for you to think straight, for you to make decisions from a grounded, clear place, and it decreases your brain's ability to be neuroplastic. So when we want to install new beliefs, we are relying on our brain's ability to change neuroplasticity. But when you're dysregulated, that your prefrontal cortex powers offline, and it's really hard to install new subconscious beliefs. And also what happens when you are dysregulated as well is that your amygdala turns on like full freaking blast. And so that is your fear center of your brain. So all of those terrified, limiting beliefs are going to start to come front and center. So that is the problem, obviously, with being dysregulated. It's affecting your daily ability, but more than that, for this specific conversation, it's impacting your ability to rewire in new subconscious beliefs so that way you stop sabotaging. Now, I could do a whole episode on nervous system regulation, but I think the biggest thing you to understand or know in this episode is that you want to start doing just a couple of things a day that will improve your nervous system health. So for me, I have like a long list of things that come to mind, and then I have some that I grab for when I'm like really, really in need, but I'm super dysregulated and I need like to get back to baseline. But some that pop into mind would be nature. Nature is honestly probably the most effective way at regulating your nervous system. That is how we were meant to live, is in nature, in the elements, and it immediately will calm your system. So nature, if you can incorporate that in any way, if you live in a city, maybe just getting outside, right, and walking around and maybe listening to like a waterfall sound in your headphones or something like that. Next thing would be co-regulation, time with friends, time with people you love, time laughing, time having fun. That is super regulating. Any sort of mindfulness practice. So for me, I do a lot of meditation. I meditate every day for 40 minutes combined. You don't need to do anything close to that. I've built up that length of time over this year, but just start with like 10-minute meditation a day. If you don't want to do a sitting meditation really is just about presence. And so you could do a walking meditation where you walk outside for 20 minutes, no podcast, no music in your ears, just walking and like looking around at the scenery and being mindful and feeling your body and being present with yourself. All of those things will be really helpful for regulating your nervous system and widening your window of tolerance. So that way less things kind of throw you out of it and you can overall have better nervous system health health. So back to our belief, the next thing we need to do is make our new belief and our new reality feel normal to our subconscious. So I don't want this episode to be too long, so I'm not going to go into all of this, but one of the best ways to do this is through visualization, which is essentially, as it says, visualizing your dream reality as if that belief were true to you. How would that feel? What would that look like in your life? What kind of woman would you be if you were embodied in that belief? So for me, the belief of I am worthy of romantic love exactly as I am, what I did was I wrote out like literally 4 pages of how that relationship would feel. That relationship where I am not shapeshifting, where I'm myself, where I'm not overgiving, where my needs matter. How would that feel in my body? How would I feel in that relationship? How would I feel in myself? How would I feel in other areas of my life, like the safety and the peace and the calmness that I would feel? So I wrote out like 4 pages of what that would feel like. And then I will read it and I will close my eyes. And for 5 to 10 minutes, I will just tune in to the frequency or the emotion of what I would feel in that reality. And so as I'm doing that, I'm kind of like imagining like a mind movie, right? Of what this scene looks like for me, how it feels like really in my mind's eye, seeing myself in that reality and tapping again into the emotion of actually having it. And what this does is it starts to normalize this reality to your subconscious. If you can visualize after you meditate, by the way, or if you can visualize right before you go to bed or right after you wake up, that's actually the best time to do it because, again, your brain is in more of the theta brainwave states, which will make your subconscious more impressionable and rewirable. That's great, but visualization. Next thing you need to do is start noticing proof of your new belief. Our brains are tricky because there's something called a reticular activating system, and your brain is constantly looking to prove your beliefs to be correct, whether those beliefs are positive or negative. Your brain doesn't give a shit about how happy you are, how loved you are, how successful you are. It just cares about keeping you safe, and that's safe in what you know, what your subconscious beliefs have always been. And so it's constantly filtering out information, twisting situations, contorting reality to support whatever you already believe to be true. And then your reticular activating system is constantly scanning for bits of information to prove that to be correct. So the classic example of your RAS is like you want a Porsche and all of a sudden you're seeing Porsches everywhere, right? Because that's what your mind is focusing on. That is what you will continue to see. And so what you want to do is start training your RAS to look for proof of your new belief. So for this one in particular of like, I am worthy of love, right? Or I am worthy of romantic love exactly as I am. I'll do even like the smallest things. It's like a guy at a cafe smiled at me. Or like my friend that I've known for 2 years, I told her something really hard and she still loves me and supports me. Like literally just like anything, the tiniest bits of proof. So if you have a core belief, right, of I'm not safe to be visible online, maybe you are looking for proof of like, oh my gosh, I uploaded this video and I got 10 likes on it. That's 10 individual people that are supporting you and your content and your vision. I got a really nice comment. I got a really nice DM internally, right? I feel really good sharing that. I feel fulfilled sharing that piece of content that helps somebody else. So just anything that will support your new belief. And I want you to, and this is going to sound crazy, but trust me on this, it works. Write those bits of proof down on a note in your notes app. So I literally wrote like proof I'm lovable. This is so sad. And I was writing down like all the different like points of evidence that I had that this belief is true. This is my new belief. And what that does is, again, it kind of allows you to actually really focus your attention on that supportive piece of evidence. And at first, I will tell you that this is going to feel the only way I describe it as like automatic and manual mode on a car. Like it is going to feel like you're in manual mode looking for these bits of proof. And it's going to feel like there's some resistance, like it's a little bit difficult. But remember, you're working with the neuroplasticity of your brain. So it's going to take a little bit of time. But over time, as you continue to do this, I promise it will feel more automatic. Your brain will automatically be looking for proof of your new belief. And then one day you're going to wake up and you are going to actually just feel like, yeah, this is who I am. I'm safe to be seen. I am worthy of romantic love exactly as I am. The other thing I want to mention too, and this just popped into my head actually, and it would apply, I think I think it applies for all situations. You need to be all in on your new reality. Where people get into trouble is that they're desiring this new reality with this type of love, with this type of visibility, but they kind of have one foot in this new reality and 1 foot back in their old life. So for me, for example, with the worthy of being loved exactly as I am, this has required me to say no to a lot of men very quickly that I sense will put me back into that old loop of overperforming, distance myself from people in my past that represented that pattern, and just in all ways signaling to the universe, and more than that, to your subconscious, that you are all in on this new reality. You cannot be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You cannot be confused. You need to be all in on your new belief and how that will help you expand in a new direction in the area that you want to be in. So I hope that this is helpful in realizing that you should give yourself grace when you feel yourself self-sabotaging, because your brain is actually working the exact way that it is meant to. Your subconscious beliefs hold the proverbial ceiling of your life and your ability, and determine your ability to rise above that ceiling or go below it. So you will always sabotage back to your baseline level of safety until you really understand what core beliefs are running your programming and do the work that I just said. So like I mentioned earlier in the episode, the doors to my new 5-week live program called Seen and Safe opened as of yesterday, and they close on the 23rd. The program starts on the 24th. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the program if you are somebody that wants support in uncovering and rewiring your beliefs around being seen, create nervous system safety around being seen, so that way you don't feel that anxiety and that freeze that comes up when you want to be more visible, to start to use I hinted a little bit in this episode about manifestation, energetic alignment, but in Seen and Safe, we're going like really, really deep into that work, because you never attract what you want, you attract who you're being. And so energetic alignment's really, really important. And in addition, I'm actually going into aligned social media strategy as well. So we're not talking cookie cutter social media tips. They're probably not working for you. You need to show up in a way that is really authentic to you and your soul, and feel confident really, sharing authentically on social media. So let me tell you a little bit about Seen and Safe. First thing to know is that there are 5 weekly 90-minute live calls. So every single week, we're going to jump on Zoom on Friday for an hour and a half-ish together for teaching, coaching, and intentional support on our 5 different kind of weekly topics, we'll say. So week 1 is, I named these after ours because I thought it was just like really fun. But week 1 is about root, or not about root, it's called root. And this is where we're going to start building safety in your nervous system and clarity in your vision. So I'm talking very, very in-depth about creating nervous system health. And so that way you can rewire your subconscious beliefs more effectively and feel safe being seen. And then we're going to get really, really clear on where you actually want to go, because the universe and your subconscious needs clarity. Week 2 is about release. So obviously that is uncovering and letting go of the subconscious fears and the beliefs that have been keeping you small. We're going to be doing a lot of shadow work, inner child work to discover what these are, weaving in somatic principles as well to really let go of the energetic, emotional charge around these things. Week 3 is called Rewire. So this is where we obviously rewire and reprogram in new subconscious beliefs and a self-concept that makes showing up natural, that begins to give you that confidence and that magnetism on an embodied level. And I'm going to walk you through my 3-step process to rewiring in new beliefs. So I talked a bit about visualization in this episode, but there's a number of other methodologies, I'll say, that I have used to rewire my subconscious beliefs that when combined together, you're actually going to be shocked at how powerful and how quickly they work. Week 4 is called Resonate. So this is where I'm talking about manifestation principles, about energetic alignment, about law of attraction, law of resonance, and how to really incorporate that into your daily life to shift into the frequency of the reality that you desire and attract everything so much faster. And then week 5 is called Rise. So this is where we translate it all into aligned action. I did not want to create a program that was just about inner work, because it's actually where a lot of people get stuck, is really intellectually understanding what's going on in their subconscious and their nervous system, how they're holding themselves back. But a lot of people can get really trapped in the inner work and not actually translate it into embodiment. And so in week 5, we are translating it into an embodiment. And I'm going to show you how to start showing up online in ways that feel authentic to you, that help you grow, that help you attract the audience you want. But most importantly, that doesn't throw you into overwhelm. Okay. So I'm not going to tell you post 5 times a week if you're posting 1 time right now. This is just a very basic example because the problem with pushing yourself too hard into too much action at once, it's way too much for your nervous system. So I'm going to show you how to start showing up intentionally, building over time and creating that nervous system capacity within yourself. So that way showing up on social media more and more and more feels really safe and really embodied and like aligned with exactly who you are as your self-concept is changing over the course of this program. So again, there's 5 weekly 90-minute live calls. I'm giving you homework and action steps each week. These are super intentional to build upon each other as the weeks go on. I have a full visibility resource library. So this is tools, everything from EFT called emotional freedom technique. It's like the tapping. I'm sure you've seen that. Journaling prompts, guided visualizations and meditations. It's also going to include somatic practices as well. And then in the moment regulation tools to use when like, let's say you post on social media and all of a sudden you're like absolutely freaking panicked and you want to delete it and you know your nervous system is going haywire and you just need to like regulate. They'll have tools for that. There's also going to be a private community space on Circle that will have daily encouragement, accountability, and connection with a high vibe group. I'm so excited about Circle. I have used Facebook in my previous courses, but like Facebook groups are just absolutely not it now. Circle is incredible. We're going to have different areas for different support and accountability. And I think that this is really the most important part of growth in any capacity, whether you join Seen and Safe or you want another program that will help you expand in some way. The people that you surround yourself with, I cannot emphasize how important this is. I have a theory that you really cannot grow beyond the container that you are in, and the people that you surround yourself with define the size of that container. And so if you want to really expand into a new reality where you're more abundant, where you're more visible, where there's so many more possibilities in life for you, you have to be surrounded by people that are there where you want to be or that are on that mission with you and share that mindset of abundance. It is extremely difficult to grow in a smaller container. And then last thing is that there's 3 years of access to everything. So you'll have access to all of the calls recorded. You'll have access to the visibility resource library, all of the homework, action steps, whatever. So if you need like a refresh or anything like that, or if you don't have time to go through the program live with me, you'll have access to everything afterwards. And again, we start on October 24th. The cost of Seen and Safe is $444, which is absolutely batshit crazy. I was telling my friends that is how much I was charging. And they were like, a live 5-week program for $444. Okay. But the reason why I'm doing this is because you guys know that I went through a huge business transition where my old courses that I retired were so much about strategy, and I'm really good at strategy. The mindset stuff is very new to me. I've immersed myself this entire year in learning about subconscious reprogramming, nervous system regulation, self-concept, identity work, manifestation, energetic alignment, all of that stuff that has helped me transform my life on like a cellular level. But this is the first program that I've launched that is mindset related. And so I wanted to offer it at a lower price point, make it as accessible as possible. It definitely, when I relaunch this at some point next year, will 1,000% be more expensive than this, but $444 for the first round of Seen and Safe. And I also have a payment plan as well. So you can do $444 or 2 payments of $255. So I'm going to put the link to check out Seen and Safe in the description of this episode somewhere, and you guys can check it out. DM me on Instagram if you have any questions whatsoever about whether it's right for you. And again, another important point that I want to hammer home here, and I sort of mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, is that the fear of visibility, the fear of being seen, does not just translate to online. I think that's where most people's minds kind of go towards, but the fear of being seen will impact you in all areas of your life. It'll impact you in romantic relationships. It'll block people from really truly seeing the authentic you because you're afraid you're going to be rejected. It will impact your ability to public speak, to be visible, to go on podcasts, to share your story, to film content without recording it 150 times or using 1,000 filters, or, question yourself. It will impact your ability to wear the outfit that you want to wear. It'll impact your ability to, one of the weirdest examples of this was I used to have a paralyzing fear of being sung happy birthday to. which is so bizarre. But like my personal version of hell used to be other people singing happy birthday to me. And then like, God forbid if they were filming, it's like my worst nightmare. Okay. So fear of being seen, it just translates over into so many different areas. And this program, although it does have a social media focus, particularly in the last week, it will help you step into the frequency of the woman that is safe to be seen. And her life is different from yours in a way that goes beyond social media, right? And so I'm showing you how to step into her identity in these 5 weeks. It's going to be a really powerful program. I am so excited about it, and I feel so invigorated and in flow talking about this stuff. So I cannot wait to have you guys in the program. We start on October 24th. Check it out in the description, and hopefully I'll see you in there.